Hi, I'm Carl from Bear Creek Woodworking. Today I'm going to take you on a tour of my shop. The first part is going to be an actual tour of my shop, show you the equipment I have and how it's kind of set up. Second part is I'm going to show you the best project that I've ever completed, the project that I have the most pride in, which is a wood strip canoe. It's being stored here in the shop, so it's a good time to show that to you. And then during that process, I'd like to really show you guys that my equipment is not very fancy, but you can really make some nice things. And when you see the equipment I have and the fact that I don't have anything that's really too fancy or too even big, and you can see the canoe that I made, hopefully it'll inspire you to make some stuff at home with your equipment also. And then the third part of my video is just to give you a little bit more history on how the shop started and a little bit of history on my background also. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. Okay, this is my Ryobi planer. It's a good planer. It's only 10 inches wide, but it does a really good job. Someday I'm going to need to upgrade this to a wider planer because there are times I want to do something wider than 10 inches, obviously. It works really good. I'm very happy with it. Okay, next is my Craftsman 10-inch table saw. It's a contractor saw, as you can tell. It only has a 1 horsepower motor on it, so sometimes it does kind of bog down. It doesn't really have the power that I need when I want to do a really deep cut, but for most cuts it's good. It's nice to, 1 horsepower does 75% of the things that I want to do, and the other 25%, well, I just have to use my brains a little bit and cut a little bit, make 2 or 3 cuts instead of 1 cut, or just approach it with a different machine like a router if I want to do dados or something along those lines. But in general, this is a good, very good table saw. I'm happy with it, and but I could use one that's more powerful, a little bit bigger. But for inexpensive table saw, this does a great job. It's a Craftsman 10-inch. And again, this one is probably like 25, 30 years old. Also, before we move too far, I'd like to show you, I made these paddles for my canoe, which I'll be showing. The canoe is actually right there. As you can see, it's stored in the shop. And I made these paddles for the canoe. Hopefully it shows up. I actually carved out Lazy Lady, which is the name of the canoe. I named it because I took a lot of pride and joy making it. And so I made 2 of these. Okay, this is my Sears Craftsman 12-inch bandsaw. This machine also is probably about 25, 30 years old. It does a good job. Obviously sometimes it could use a little bit more power, or sometimes I could use a little bit more than 12 inches clearance, but in general it's a good all-purpose bandsaw. I'm happy to have it, and I've had a lot of good years of service with it. And for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you've seen me before with my wood burning stove. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but as you can see, I got a fire going in there today. It's January here in Michigan, so it's a good day to have a fire going. And I really enjoy just the crackle of a fire in the shop when things are relatively quiet too. So let's move on. This is my Sears Craftsman 15-inch drill press. It's driven by pulleys, so it's got 12 speeds, and it's got a 1/2 horsepower motor on it. It's really nice to have the variable speed one, which just turns by a dial. This is not that. But since I use it mainly for woodworking, I don't change the speeds very often anyhow. So by opening this cover and changing the belts on the pulleys, it's not that big a deal because it's actually pretty easy to do when I do want to change the speeds. And it's not very often that I change my speeds, so I'm very happy with this drill press. Turn on the light here, switch there. It's relatively quiet, and it's always done everything that I want to do. I drill wood with it, I drill metal with it. It's never stalled out, and I'm very happy with it. Okay, this is my lathe, and it's driven by a 1/2 horsepower motor. The lathe is manufactured by AMT, which I believe is American Machine and Tool. I'm not even sure if they're in business anymore. It's a great lathe. It's not real heavy duty, but I bought it very inexpensively. It's only like, I don't know, $80 or $100 back then. I had to put a motor on it. It came without the motor, so I installed the motor, and I made this stand for it. I made a slotted stand for it so that a lot of the shavings will actually fall to the floor, and then when I'm done, I just sweep up the floor. So that works pretty good. I haven't seen anybody else with a slotted stand for their wood lathe, but I really like it. Okay, as the last thing I showed you was the lathe. On the left hand side of the lathe is this large workbench. This workbench is probably like 24 feet long. I'm using it for my assembly area, which is why I put my clamps down here. I have just some spring clamps down here because I use those a lot for when I'm doing my glue ups, putting trim and so forth on a piece. So I put all my spring clamps down here in the wall because it's very handy. Of course, you gotta have some music, so I got my nice DeWalt work radio here. I've had this for a while also, and this is a really nice radio, puts out good music. I love it. And just have a nice large work area, excuse me. Have a nice large work area to assemble things and do some sanding here too, of course. And works good for that, sanding and finishing right here. Okay, now I'd like to give you a little bit of background on the shop, how it started, how it all came to be. Myself, my dad, and my brother built this building when my dad retired. My dad wanted someplace to go out and do some woodworking and also just kind of mess around in the heated shop. So this building is actually 32 by 40, 8 feet long, and half of it, which is this shop we're in right now, this portion, is it's heated by a wood stove. It's insulated walls. It's fairly easy to heat in the wintertime. It's a good place to come out and do some woodworking, or even do. My dad used to do a little bit of working like on tractors and so forth too in here. This portion of the shop is 24 feet by 32 feet. It's half of the building, and the other half of the building is unheated storage. That's where I keep like my plywood and a lot of raw material out there. So then when this shop was here, well, I naturally started doing some woodworking too, and that's how I got into woodworking.